One of my recent projects was to build these stackable storage boxes. I like them so much I wanted to make more. This time I made them smaller and I used my advanced box joint jig. Here I've got a piece of 1/2-inch plywood that I'm cutting down for the parts. Then I cut the strips down to the individual pieces for the sides, tops, and bottoms. With all the material cut, the next thing I did was I made a sample to make sure that my box joint is loose enough and can go together well. I want it loose enough to go together well, but I want it tight enough that I don't have big gaps. This looks good. The way to do that is to set up my dado blade. In this case, I've got it set for 1/2 inch, and I've added shims, the shims that came with the dado blade, to make it the right thickness. I've had people ask if there's any fine adjustment on my jig. Well, it doesn't need it because that's your fine adjustment right there. You increase the size of the cut, that loosens the box joint, and you do that by using these shims. I'm going to be making 4 boxes, so I've got 16 sides, and I'm going to be cutting 4 of those at a time. Half of the sides need to be cut with the finger missing at the start. The other half need to be cut with the finger there. So I need to be aware of that as I go through this. First thing I'm going to do is put a backer piece in so that I don't get a lot of chip out on the cut. And I'm going to take 4 and stack them in, put them up tight to the side fence, and then clamp them in place. This is going to be pretty loud, so I'm going to wear earmuffs to try to preserve the little bit of hearing I have left. Okay, that's that side cut. All I need to do is take the clamp off, flip it over, move the carriage back to the start position, and clamp it in again and make the next cuts. Okay, well, I've got all of the first 8 sides cut. Now I'm ready to cut the other 8. I've already loaded the first 4 into the jig. Now to offset the pin, I'll just advance this 1/2 inch. And I do that by releasing the locking blade, pushing in the advance lever, pushing it over 1/4 inch, pushing it over another 1/4 inch, locking in the blade again. That gives me the 1/2 inch offset. Now that I've got all the box joints cut in the sides, I've got one more operation that I need to do, and that's to cut a shallow dado along the bottom of each piece to receive the bottom. In general, I prefer to cut narrow dados with a saw blade rather than going to the trouble of setting up the dado blade. I got all the dados cut in the side pieces. Now what I need to do is cut a corresponding rabbet in the bottom parts so that they fit in there. To do that, I've moved the fence over to 7 inches because these pieces are 7¼ inches wide, and my dado is 1/4 inch deep. And I haven't changed the height of the blade. I'm going to make a cut on all 4 edges and then put it on edge and finish the cut. Okay, so now that the bottom panels have been cut to fit in the dados in the sides, I decided to do a little bit of a test fit, a dry fit, to see how they go together. And I've discovered that I made a mistake and made the bottoms about 1/4 inch wider than they should have been. So where I wrote down 7.25 here, that should have actually been 7. They should have been 1/2 inch narrower or smaller than the top.
I said give the boy a thumbs up for his honesty.
We all make mistakes. So I've got to resize the bottoms and then I'll get back to the dry fit. Okay, well I fixed the bottoms. Now let's try this again. Now the bottom should fit right in there. And the way I did it is it's flush on the bottom here like this. And then find a side and put that on. That looks good. Okay, so I moved the operation over to my workbench area here, and I've laid a piece of cardboard on the top to keep it from getting covered with glue. Just like I did on the bigger ones, I'm going to be using polyurethane construction adhesive to glue these together. Now I keep getting questions about this glue, and it's fairly simple. It's not a regular construction adhesive like a subfloor adhesive. It's a much stronger version. It's a polyurethane based construction adhesive, and it dries very hard and it makes a very strong glue joint. Now I'm not endorsing any particular brand or anything like that. All I can say is that you need to look for polyurethane construction adhesive, and that is what will make the difference. So once again, I've laid all the parts out linked together like this, and I'm going to put glue on all of the joints and in the dado all the way across, and then close it all up. The other thing that I keep getting asked is, what do I do with a tube after I'm done with it? I've got a lag bolt here. This is actually a 5/16 lag bolt. I take it and I screw it right into the end of the nozzle, and that's good for up to a month before it dries out. If it has dried out and hardened in the nozzle, what you can do is take a pair of pliers, crush the stuff that's in there, push it back inside the gun, and then pump it back out. After it gets back inside the wet glue, it'll be lubricated and it'll just push right out. So what I really like about using this glue is how long it takes for it to dry. You have a lot of time to work with, and it doesn't drip all over the place when you're trying to put something together. Here I'm going to take a bottom and slip it in here. And then close up this side, push it in, and just close up the other sides, making sure it gets pushed in fully. Now to put these together, I'm going to cheat a little bit, I guess if you can call it cheating, in that I don't, I have enough clamps, but I don't want to go to the trouble. I'm going to clamp it just to pull it tight together. And then I'm going to use my nailer to nail it together to hold it in place. What the brads do, they just hold it until the glue dries. They don't add any strength to the connection here. And that's it. I can just leave these to dry overnight Any of the glue that's on the outside that's squeezed out, I'm just going to leave and I'll sand that off tomorrow. It's the next day. I gave the boxes overnight to dry, let the glue cure up fully. And this morning I did some sanding to smooth them out. Then I cut this semicircular hole in the front here. That allows me to grip the box easily, and it also allows me to remove the lid. I had a few suggestions on the bigger ones to drill holes in the lid to make it easier to get off. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't want stuff dropping in, because I know that eventually I'll be putting stuff on top of this and it will fall inside the box. For more info on this, please visit my website. I've got a full article on these boxes there. As always, I hope you liked it, and thanks for watching.